My name is Robbie Young, and I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, August 31st, 1927. I went to live with my paternal grandparents when my mother died. I was at the age of 6 when she passed. And I stayed there with them just briefly because my grandmother had had a stroke and my grandfather was blind. So they were really unable to take care of me. I was sent to live with one of my mother's brothers and his wife, and I lived with them until I was about 9. Then I was sent to Detroit to live with one of my mother's sisters, Cordelia, and stayed with her and her husband until I married. I met my husband Bob when he came home from service. He had lived in Clinton, South Carolina, but he came to Detroit to attend Wayne State University. And his brother, Jose, was married to my sister Bertha. And we started dating, and we married in, I think, 1949, and had 3 children. The eldest was Robert Jr., and then we had Michael and Judith. And now we have 8 grandchildren. Bob died about 5 years ago of cancer, but we had a long marriage, and it was a good marriage. He was a wonderful husband and father, and of course we miss him terribly. But I can look back at the years that we were together, and we had our ups and downs, but we had a good life together. Most of the rioting that took place was in the downtown area. And however, of course, Bob had become a doctor, and he did have an office on Linwood. And there was a lot of looting and fighting and what have you going on around the office, but fortunately the office was not disturbed. But it was just a frightening time, very fearful time for everybody. Fortunately, none of us were hurt, but that was it was trying time. That's about the most that I can say. Coleman did some things that were not so good for the city. However, after Coleman died, then along came Kilpatrick, and he was truly a detriment to the city of Detroit. When I first came to Detroit as a little girl, I thought it was fairyland. It was beautiful. Downtown area was just gorgeous. Belle Isle was beautiful, but Kilpatrick, and who became mayor, and his people just helped destroy Detroit. They stole from the city, and that is something that I'm very sad about. He's out of office now, but he has done damage to the city that I will never see repaired. And that makes me feel very sad. He was a young man, an intelligent young man. In fact, he was an attorney. But what he did to the city of Detroit, I just can't forgive him for that. Bob and I were very fortunate to have 3 wonderful children. They are good people, and their children are good people. And a legacy that I would like to live and to leave for them is that you should do the right thing. I don't understand people who live off other people, who take advantage of people who are less fortunate than they. We all have done some volunteer work because I believe in giving back. God has really been good to us. We've been blessed. And I think it's a good thing as we climb the ladder of life. I believe in reaching out to help others.
I moved to Allen Park because I used to visit my cousin on Oceana who lived here. She wanted me to move here so bad. Every time I go to lunch, she'd say, "You've got to come." So we finally decided to take a ride out here to see where we could move and afford. And we got here, we could only come as far as, I think, either Inglewood or Wick, because this was all farmland. So the man said, "You'll be down by the second light pole if you buy a house there, that house." So we moved in 1951, and this is scratch that. This is 2011, and we're still here. We've been here since 1951 and raised all our kids in this little house, 7 boys and 2 girls. And everybody says, "How'd you squeeze them in?" And I says, "We did." So anyhow, we're still here. And I wouldn't move for anything. I love it. I love Allen Park. So does Dad, because he has to. I really liked it here because almost every house on this block had kids. And they would play baseball in the street, and the fire hydrant would be first base. My grass would be third base, and the street was the second base. And hardly any cars went down here, so it was perfectly safe. And they would just want to have a ball game. They just holler, "Anybody want to play?" And you'd have a couple dozen, 2 or 3. At one time, we had 103 kids on this block. The oldest was probably about 19 and 20. I love living in this house because there was kids in almost every house around here that if the boys wanted to play baseball, they just hollered, and pretty soon you had a ball game going on, with my front lawn being third base. But they were the most wonderful kids in this neighborhood. We had no mean kids or anything. Everybody got along with everybody. But if your kids are not doing the thing right at somebody's house, they send them home. If they're not doing right at my house, I send them home. We took up these kids as a mother. If you're in my house, you go by my rules. If you go in her house, you go by her rules. So anyhow, they loved to play ball. They could play football in the street because there weren't many cars. Anyhow, and I forgot what else I was going to tell you.
That's good. We can just take a stop. All right, cut that. All right, give me your favorite memory of the Senior Olympics. Whatever you got. And just maybe start with, I remember one time the Senior Olympics, or, you can talk about yourself, or you can talk about Grandpa, or anything. Just anything. Let's just talk a little bit about the Senior Olympics. But just make sure you start with something about the Senior Olympics so we know what you're talking about.
Okay. I think I can do it.
Okay, yeah. We're not recording. Let's get this one out of the way.
I started, I think, in the year 2000.
Where did you start?
I started the Senior Olympics going there about the year 2000. And it was a real fun thing. With all of the senior citizens that were there. And I knew a lot of people, so it made it even more fun. And every year I'd meet more people. and it's got so like it was a family going over there, and we what did we play? We played oh shoot, wait a minute, click, turn it off. I joined the Olympics in the year 2000.
You joined the Senior Olympics. You're good. You're good. All right, we're still rolling.
Get the
Whenever
eraser.
you're ready. Whenever you're ready.
And I joined the Senior Olympics in 2000. It was ring toss, frisbee toss. Couldn't hit them worth a darn. And finally, after 2 years, I got a medal in frisbee toss, and I've gotten one in ring toss. And I enjoyed that, but I go every year. I've got 12 total medals. And I won one in bowling, a gold medal in bowling about 3 years ago. I don't do that anymore. I get the booby prize. I was going to go this year, but we had unexpectedly had company come from out of state. I was only able to get in the bowling. By that time, I was tired, and I didn't do very good, didn't get any medals. But I intend to sign up next year. I'm looking forward to it. And they give you a free breakfast, beautiful big breakfast, eggs and all kinds of stuff that you can imagine for breakfast, sausage, French toast, pancakes, and that's how you start out. You go 7:30 in the morning, you got to be there for breakfast. So it makes it a long day because sometimes you don't play frisbee until about 11:30 or quarter to 12. But as many years as I can, I'm going. I joined the Senior Olympics in the year 2000. I didn't do too well, but I had a good time, so I kept going back every year. And I joined the Senior Olympics in the year 2000. I didn't do very well, but had a good time. From then on, I seemed to win medals every year. And we had ring toss, frisbee toss, bowling. I've got medals in, and I enjoyed going, and I intended to go this year, but I was only able to get to the bowling one, and I didn't do very well. But that's not going to stop me because I'm going to sign up again next year. I had a good time. I joined the Senior Olympics in the year 2000, and I didn't have much luck in those 2 years, but I had a lot of fun. So I decided to keep on going back every year, and I finally won a few medals. I've won gold in bowling, and I've won medals in ring toss and frisbee toss. I have a total of 12. They look like this, and I have them somewhere. And I'm looking forward to joining next year again. And it's a real, everybody ought to, our age should get in that because it's really good exercise, fun, and you meet a lot of people. I joined the Senior Olympics in the year 2000. I didn't do very well in the first two, but I started winning medals, which made it even more exciting. And I'm looking forward to going next year. I've won them in bowling and frisbee toss and what's the other one? Go. I joined the Senior Olympics in 2000. I enjoyed it very much, so I kept on going until I started in the third year winning medals. I've won them in bowling, frisbee toss, and ring toss. I have about a total of 12. They look like this, and I'm very proud to have them, and I'm looking forward to going next year in the summer.
It was in the late 1940s, after I had gotten out of the service. I come back, started working at the telephone company, got married, start raising a family, and really realized that we needed a home, and we start looking around. We found out that it was Allen Park that, to us, seemed like the better place to settle and raise a family, because they had everything that we wanted: schools, shopping, neighbors. We had nice neighbors. The neighborhood was nice. We picked Allen Park because as time went on, after 60 years, we decided we made the right move. And we've been here ever since, and it looks like we're going to wind up being here the rest of our lives. One of the things that happened to me when I was in the service, I was in the Air Corps and assigned to a bomber crew. We trained in the States and went overseas as a replacement crew. We were assigned to a bomber group. Unbeknownst to us, the commander of our squadron was Jimmy Stewart, the movie star, and he was become well known because of his fact that he was in the service. He was one of the movie stars that did well in the service. He was a bomber pilot, flew 20 missions. And when we got over there, we were surprised to find out that he was our squadron commander. The only thing is, he got transferred out of the squadron the week before we got to the base. So, although I can always say that I was in the squadron that Jimmy Stewart was the commander of, I never did get to see him. But I saw some of his movies. Another time when I was in the service, I was assigned to sent to Harlingen, Texas, to go to gunnery training school and to learn how to be a gunner. And they had classes. Every week they'd graduate a class, and it took 6 weeks. The class in front of us, everybody was talking about it, was a movie star from Hollywood. He was in the movie Gunga Din, and the guy, played the part of the little boy that rode on the elephant, and it was Sabu the Elephant Boy. And it was fun to kind of go over and see him marching with all the other guys, and we go, there's Sabu the Elephant Boy. I was assigned to a bomber crew, part of a crew. And once we finished our in-states training, they sent us overseas and assigned us to a bomber group. Lo and behold, I was surprised to find out that the squadron that I was assigned to in England, the commander was Jimmy Stewart, the movie star. And we kept thinking, boy, we're going to get to see Jimmy Stewart. But lo and behold, we found out that he got transferred the week before we got there. So I never did get to see him. But I can always say I was in the squadron that Jimmy Stewart was the commander. After being assigned to a bomber crew, and we finished our training in the States and were sent overseas, we were assigned to a bomber squadron, a part of a bomber group. And lo and behold, we found out that our commander of our squadron was Jimmy Stewart, the movie star. We were quite excited, and we thought we were going to get to see Jimmy Stewart. But we found out that he was transferred the week before we got there. So I never got to see him in the service. But when I got home, I saw all his movies, and that was the only chance I got the best chance I had to see Jimmy Stewart. I was assigned the job of driving my grandson over to my daughter's house one day. She was going to babysit for him. Driving him in the car, and I had him seated in the back seat. Later on, I found out from talking with my son that he asked Sean if I was a good driver when he was driving, and he said no. And we got all excited. He says, "Why isn't he a good driver?" And he says, "Because he picks his nose."